Episode of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics, live from the Malik Wright Studios. I'm here with Daniel Alameda. He is back from California. Obviously, Bengals got some big news today. Joe Burrow signed a record-breaking extension, making him the highest-paid player in NFL history. A lot of stuff to talk about. But before we do, as always, make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. You guys may have heard me mention it on State of the Jungle, but First Star Logistics is doing a giveaway every single week. The Cincinnati Bengals have a game. So this week's giveaway that they have people entering in for a chance to win is a Jamar Chase helmet signed by Jamar Chase himself. So if you want an opportunity to win that, all you have to do is head on over to the First Star Logistics um, Twitter or X, I would say, and you can click the website, follow all the different prompts that will act as an entry for you guys, and you can enter as many times as you want. And I hope that you guys win. Hope that you guys win because definitely to get the opportunity to get a Jamar Chase signed helmet is pretty sick. But yeah, that's not what I'm here for, right? I'm here to talk to you guys about the breaking news of Joe Burrow's contract extension, plus the Chiefs' upset loss via the Lions. Lions went into enemy territory and knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs. Does that spell doom for the Kansas City Chiefs? That's the question here. Daniel, what are your thoughts so far? Let's start with the Joe Burrow's contract.
So my thoughts on the Burrow contract, and obviously you'll get more into this, and I'm sure the people obviously want to hear your opinion, Malik. But my thoughts are, yes, he was always going to be the highest paid player in the NFL. But I'm surprised it wasn't more. Like, you can look at all these quarterbacks, like Herbert got the contract, Lamar got the contract, Hurts got his contract, and Burrow got maybe 10 million more than the previous highest paid player. So I look at Burrow and I'm actually happy with the contract. You look at and you see that you still have enough money to sign guys like a T. Higgins, you still have enough money to sign guys like a Jamar Chase. So I'm just happy that the deal got done for Bengals fans, because Bengals fans were obviously on edge saying, when is it going to get done? When's it going to get done? Burrow's locked in. So I'm happy with the contract. I was expecting upwards of 300 million. And the biggest thing that I'm not excited about, but you still got 2 more years left on his current contract. You have 2 more years left on his current contract. So in theory, yes, this is a 5-year extension, but you've got Joe Burrow for the next 7 years.
Yeah.
You've got him into the 2030s.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous to actually think about. But Bengals fans, I'm not going to go out and say this is the next dynasty, but look at where you were 3 years ago. You were without a franchise quarterback, and now you have a quarterback that's going to take you for the next 7 years. You've got someone to rest your laurels on, saying, okay, I've got my franchise quarterback. I've got the guy that's going to rejuvenate my city. So I'm not going to keep going around and around. You lock down your guy, and Bengals fans, you should be happy because the next 7 years, you've got a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
100%. You've got an elite quarterback, right? And this that you smell, this that you hear is rarefied air that Bengals fans aren't used to. And it's not because the Bengals haven't had fantastic players come through. It's just that when you have a player like Joe Burrow, who is franchise transcending, right? It changes the game for you. The fact that the Bengals were able to nail Joe Burrow down, and let's remember, no matter what happens throughout the years, the faces might change on the team. The fact of the matter is, as long as you have Joe Burrow as your quarterback, who is the most important player on this football team, just saying what it is, the Bengals have a chance.
Yep.
And that might be, people might think, hey, you're looking at it with a half glass, if you will, but I'm not. You think about Tom Brady, when Tom Brady was on the New England Patriots, as long as they had Tom Brady, he was that type of a quarterback that elevated the talent around him, right? It didn't matter. We saw Tom Brady throw into the likes of some receivers who had no business being in the NFL, like Kimbrel Tompkins. And when I look at Joe Burrow, when I see Joe Burrow's game, Joe Burrow brings the best out of the players around him. And I think that this speaks to the rapport, right, that he has, that he goes out of his way to sort of have with his receivers and the different players on the team. I don't think, and that brings me to my next point, I don't think this spells the end for T. Higgins. I think the Bengals are pretty much, whether they agree to an extension with T. Higgins this year or whatever the case would be, I definitely see if they are not able to get an extension done, a franchise tag in T. Higgins' future, a lot like the Jesse Bates situation. But the fact of the matter is, I still believe it gets done because I was told all offseason that that was where the focus was. And I'm maintaining that, right? Until T. Higgins signs with another football team, I believe that the Bengals are going to try everything in their power to make T. Higgins a Bengal for life or for the next 4 or 5 years. Duke Tobin has said as much in his presser at the combine as well. He's not interested in making other teams better. He's interested in making the Cincinnati Bengals better. So I would just say, Bengals fans, rest on your, just reach, just take a breath really quickly. I don't think this spells the end for T. Higgins. A lot of moves that the Bengals made in the offseason was to keep this core together. Joe Burrow talked about his interest in keeping this core together. So I don't think it spells the end just yet. Again, we'll see. We'll see what takes place.
So just to add on real quickly, you have to look at it from, let's look at it from T. Higgins' perspective. Let's look at it from his agent, David Mogetta's perspective. We've seen guys like Tyreek Hill, they wanted out of Kansas City because they didn't want the contract. You're not just going to go to an Atlanta Falcons and get a bag and be happy. He went to the Miami Dolphins. I'm talking about Tyreek Hill. He went to the Miami Dolphins. He was from Miami. He had a great quarterback, a good quarterback in Tua, and a situation where he'd be great. When you look at T. Higgins, he wants to stay in Cincinnati because who wouldn't? You've got a franchise quarterback you have a great rapport with for the next 7 years.
Yeah.
So if you're T. Higgins, would you rather have? And this is once again me speculating because I don't know what T. Higgins wants, but I'd want a top 3 quarterback. I'd want a franchise that I know loves me and I know appreciates me, and I would want security in my job. And that's what the Cincinnati Bengals can offer him. And yes, maybe you're going to take 10 million less, 5 million less than what a Carolina Panthers or what an Atlanta Falcons would offer. But I'd rather play with Joe Burrow and be competing for championships than get an extra $10 million. But that's me.
100%. While you're here, also, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss 1 a.m. live streams like this. Surely news is going to break. Things are going to happen. And this is an opportunity for you guys not to miss when we go live. And, we want to make sure that this doesn't skip a beat. Appreciate you guys for tuning in with us at 1:10 a.m. We got 88 people right now. We had 90-something people. And appreciate you guys. Sorry it took a little long to get started. But, just talking about it. Joe Burrow's contract, what this means for the Bengals. Let's talk about it. This means that the Bengals have Joe Burrow under contract for the next 7 years because he already had 2 years remaining on his deal. Remember, this does not kick in really until, for the next 2 years, essentially. I'm excited to see the way it's structured, if you will, because the structure of a deal will tell us, right? The structure of a deal will tell us if, it was sort of more of a team-friendly deal. It's like when Patrick Mahomes' contract numbers first came out, it was very gaudy. You know what I mean? We were like, what in the world? What in the world? And then we realized afterwards, okay, it's not as bad as it sounds. You hear that initial number and you're like, whoa. You know what I mean? But it could be spread over a various amounts and look a lot different.
So I want to answer some of these questions, and I've got a question for you, right? Somebody said, oh, surprised it wasn't more. The F, that was from All and J. Were you surprised that it wasn't more?
Yes, and no, because this is sort of what I expected to some degree. I'm excited. Again, I want to see the actual number breakdown. I want to see the contractual breakdown before I speak too soon. I know I'm coming at you guys live right now. This is fresh off of hearing the news. This is fresh off the Kansas City Chiefs loss to the Lions, and I'm going to keep repeating that. But I think tomorrow we'll know more. And I think tomorrow we'll all probably be breathing a sigh of relief and we'll be like, okay, it's not that bad. It's interesting note. Joe Burrow talked about how Tom Brady helped him out. So it's going to be interesting to see sort of how this whole thing just shakes out. I'm excited to see what the final number breakdown is. And again, I think the biggest thing here is that you got your quarterback under wraps for the next couple of years, and you can now start to focus fully on football.
So if you guys have your questions, drop them down below. Malik, just more of a question. When should Bengals fans not be concerned about the T. Higgins contract, but when, like, let's say we get into week 3, like when should the Bengals fans be like, okay, have a little concern? Is it okay if this lingers into the offseason?
I listen, you get the sentiment that both sides want to get this deal done. Here's when I'll be concerned. I'll be concerned when free agency opens and T. Higgins is unsigned and a boatload of teams come after T. Higgins for an offer. That's when I'll be signed. Until then, you have to look at it this way. The Bengals have another year with T. Higgins, and then you still have the franchise tag available, which is not, it's not there to, to just be there. It's there for a reason. It's there to help the team um, potentially, have more time to negotiate a deal that makes sense. I told you guys going into this, and I'm not trying to act like I knew everything, but I told you who his agent is, Dave Mulgeta. Dave Mulgeta will always look to get the best deal for his guys. He's known for having his players sign record-breaking deals, and you have to remember, in the same token, the Bengals have to be smart financially. We talked a lot about the process, which is drafting, developing, and then retaining. Right. This is the process of which this is the process in which you have to be smart about how you're going to retain your guys. And this is the fun part too. But it's also a tough part as well, because you have to make you have to figure out what's going to help your team for the long term, right? And I'm of the belief they get the T Higgins deal done. They want to they made it very clear that T Higgins is a guy that they want to keep here in Cincinnati. You want to get your quarterback done, right? Because in the same token, if T Higgins deal was done first, everybody be clamoring like, what the hell? Well, um, what the hell? Why is your quarterback not done? So it's like one of those things where it had to happen. Joe Burrow was always a priority, especially with the season, um, you know, coming full steam ahead this upcoming Sunday. You had to get the deal done with Joe Burrow ASAP. And that's what they were able to do. They were able to get the deal done with Joe Burrow. They were able to get the deal done with Logan Wilson. And let's not forget all the great things that they did in the offseason to make these things happen. Reworking a new deal for Joe Mixon, reworking a new deal for Trey Hendrickson, extending Logan Wilson, who is one of the leaders of the defense. It's, the T Higgins saga is far from over, and it hasn't been written yet. The story hasn't been written yet. And that's something that I just want to stress to Bengals fans. It hasn't been written yet. So
We got Marcin said Houday from Norway.
Houday.
People are saying, okay, what if Jamar Chase gets his deal done before T Higgins? Because I don't think they're saying Chase can't get it done next year, but what happens if Chase gets it done before T Higgins?
Well, remember, Chase, that wouldn't happen. I'm just putting it bluntly. I mean, the Bengals can obviously sign him early, but if you look at it, Chase still has the 5th-year option as well that he has on top of the years that he has remaining on his deal. Ideally, you're not going to franchise tag T Higgins 2 years in a row. Yeah. Ideally, you franchise tag him 1 year. That is assuming that a deal doesn't get done. You franchise tag him. You franchise tag him 1 year, and then you hope to get it to lock in a long-term deal. That's the hope there. I don't think that there's a world in which Chase would get a deal before T Higgins.
So a couple questions, 2 from Chris Rucker, and obviously these are, speculative. Do you think the Bengals winning a Super Bowl would affect their desire to retain T Higgins?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Damn, that was a really good question. Chris, you're always in the chat, man, and I think that, and I appreciate you always supporting. That's something I never thought about.
Yeah.
Because your motivation does change, right? You're probably wondering. You're like, okay, the ideal focus of why you sign a guy is to win a to keep a band together to potentially win a Super Bowl. But if you win a Super Bowl, does your motivation change? I don't even know the answer to that. So I can only imagine how the Bengals feel about that. That really is that's a really good.
Yeah.
I appreciate that question, Chris. I don't have the answer for you because I'm not a part of the front office. I will say this though. I think he gives you some things to think about. I think it gives you some things to think about, because then you have to ask yourself, okay, we won a Super Bowl, and this is obviously us projecting into the future. We win a Super Bowl. Does it make sense to pay another wide receiver X amount when we can develop, right? Because we've already won in this era. We can develop some other receivers that we may have drafted, like Andre Yoshivas, like a Charlie Jones. Now, in a perfect world, you keep T Higgins. Like that's a no-brainer, right? And you try to win as many Super Bowls as you want to, but that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Deja Vu also makes a good point. He said there would be more cash. I agree. I think winning a Super Bowl would also give your team a lot more money to play with. So.
Absolutely. Because I think the team that wins the Super Bowl, they get like a cash influx.
I'm sure they get something.
Like that, right? So there's, you keep the band together. You don't even, as tempting as that might be. What do you like? You know what I mean? Like even more so, you're asking yourself, why wouldn't we? You're you're looking to keep the band together and try to win as many Super Bowls as possible. There's no need to break the band up, because if you won one Super Bowl together, who say you can't win two? Who say you can't win three? Who say you can't win? Who's to say you can't challenge the Patriots, what they've done in that dynasty? For me, if I'm the Bengals and that happens, I'm like, my antlers are going up, my antennas are going up. I'm saying, hey, we won a Super Bowl right here. We win multiple. Let's keep this band together. Let's keep this party going as long as we can. Because guess what? One thing's for sure, two things for certain. The league has not caught on to yet to how to defend the trio-headed monster at receiver of Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins.
So to keep with that, you got a question from Keith Bradley. He said, depends on how Joe's contract is structured. You can afford to let Tyler Boyd walk. Thoughts on Tyler Boyd again?
Man, that's a tough one, man, because I think that he is the odd man out in discussing that. I think it's really, really tough. So yeah, I think that's tough. I think that's tough. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's something that Tyler Boyd in Cincinnati long term is something that makes sense for either side, honestly. He's getting up there in age. Obviously, he's still producing at a very high level, but when you have other factors on the team and other players on the team you need to keep, and probably, honestly, you free more money up. You could potentially splurge and do more things like you see like the Buffalo Bills and other teams do, and go after some big names and really enhance a specific area of your team that maybe you're lacking in. So that's the part of this that's so beautiful, Bengals fans out there. This is the roster construction point where you have the ability to do what the Seahawks, and I think about the Seahawks because I think the Seahawks are probably the most, outside the Patriots, are the one team that we look at and we say, hey, man, they messed up their prime, right? Where they could have done things a little bit differently to kind of try to open their window up a little longer. The Bengals are in a spot where this is a special time for them, where they can go a whole host of different ways. And I'm excited, man.
And one thing just to add on to that, I think if, let's say, they were to try to pay Tyler Boyd, I would almost guarantee, right? You pay Tyler Boyd, you pay T. Higgins, you pay Jamar Chase. That's the most expensive receiver room in the entire NFL, guaranteed. And for a quarterback like Joe Burrow, who's done it with, I look at last year's Trenton Irwin against the Patriots, Trenton Irwin against the Browns. Joe Burrow doesn't need three very good receivers to succeed. Like we see what they're trying to do with the tight end position with Irv Smith right now. So financially, it might not be the best investment. Also, Tyler Boyd would probably want to get paid a heck of a lot more than the Bengals would be willing to pay.
It would probably be in Tyler Boyd's best interest to keep Bradley's point that to take a team-friendly deal when that time does come, because you're not going to get much better than what you got in Cincinnati. It's close enough to home in Pittsburgh, where he's from. And you probably want to keep this band together and realize you're probably not going to get a lot better than the quarterback you got in Joe Burrow. He's had it bad. He's had quarterbacks that were less than elite throwing to him, and probably knows what that is. Money and everything. You know what I mean? Especially when you make your money in this league, you got to really ask yourself, who's playing a slot receiver, top dollar these days. Your best bet is probably getting what Kendrick Bourne got. I mean, if we're being honest, so that's what we got. Like, if you guys could do us a huge favor again, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. I'm going to get back to the Bengals point, but I do want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs loss to the Lions. I listen, you'd probably think that I'm going to come here and I'm going to absolutely just obliterate the Kansas City Chiefs for their loss against the Lions. I feel bad for Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes did his best tonight. He did what he could. But he was dealing with a tackle that was false starting on every play. Another tackle that is past his prime. Receivers dropping the football. Tight ends being out. Patrick Mahomes is the real deal. Patrick Mahomes did what he could for the Kansas City Chiefs. That does not excuse them from a loss like this. Now, how does this pertain to the Bengals? It's huge for the Bengals because this opens up a pathway for the Bengals to win the number 1 seed. This is what I've been trying to say. An opportunity like this could open up the pathway for a team like the Bengals, like the Bills, like the Jets to sneak into that 1 seed. The Chiefs offense 100% missed Travis Kelce tonight. 100% missed him. And I think that I think it goes back to the point that I was making in the offseason. I don't think the Chiefs got better. I was called a hater. I was called so many things. I don't think the Chiefs got better. But even in that pick six that Patrick Mahomes threw, Ohio Lakers 5-1-3, my man, it was still the receiver's fault. It was in the receiver's hands. And it bounced into the defender's hands. the fact of the matter is, I don't think the Chiefs got better in the offseason. And yes, Keith, 100%. For all the crap talking they talked about Orlando Brown, it looked like they missed Orlando Brown out there. It looked like they missed Orlando Brown out there. It looked like they missed their other tackle out there. Like, that's just how it looked to me. I didn't understand the idea as well. We saw what a guy like Isaiah Pacheco was able to do last year. For Clyde Edwards-Helaire to get the start over him was, I don't understand. You know what I mean? I didn't understand that too much. But furthermore, I'm going to say this. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs, for me, again, I'm going to say this again, did not get better last year. I mean, better in the offseason. I think that they lost talent like a Juju Smith-Schuster, and we underrated his importance to that offense. For being a security blanket, they have a lot of receivers that I would say that look very similar, if you will. Sky Moore, I expected to see more out of. No pun intended there. I just think we didn't see that upgrade. I think the fact that they didn't have Chris Jones as well played a huge part into that as well. It made them susceptible, and that's something that we haven't talked about enough. For me, maybe the starting of Clyde Edwards-Helaire had more to do about their confidence level in their tackles, right? Because if you think about Isaiah Pacheco does much better from the outside zone. You know what I mean? An outside zone running scheme. And if you don't have that true elite tackle play, it makes it very hard for him. So maybe you use a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire to run the ball downhill. That's the only thing I could think of.
It's a beautiful thing. And the reason why I say that is we went back. My main point about this, and the thing I learned, we were watching the game tonight, trust your objective analysis. And the reason why I say that is don't worry about what the outside noise is saying. Don't worry about what the public is saying.
Right.
The public was saying the Chiefs are going to do it again because they've won 12 games in each of the past 5 years. They've won the division each of the so-and-so years. Well, look at the team objectively. Don't just look at the face value. Okay, we watched their games from last year. You had, the pulling tackles. You had so much on the offensive line. Orlando Brown, they lost their other tackle. And you just expect them to flip a switch and, they're the Chiefs. They're fine. Orlando Brown sucked. No, he was an all-pro tackle. So you have to trust your analysis. And also, okay, Travis Kelce goes down. You have to look at the weapons around you. They're not very good. You've got a bunch of guys, and Patrick Mahomes did what he could. He ran around. He rushed for a heck of a lot of yards tonight, and he made the plays that he normally makes. Just today, it didn't fall his way. He had at least 6 drops from receivers, Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, and they were still 1 point within the game. So the Chiefs are going to be fine. They're going to win 9 to 10 games. But we've got to stop just looking at what the public is saying before the season and be like, okay, they're going to be great. Well, look at their schedule. They've got a very hard schedule. So,
I love talking about this. Edwin, my man, I know you're probably emotional after the loss, my man. And I appreciate you commenting, but I'm going to tell you this right now. You say they lost one game, overrating big time, LOL. But you will understand. Yes, we're going to talk about it. This is the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions. This is their first game. This is their first game as defending Super Bowl champions this year. They let the Detroit Lions come into their house and beat them.
Yep.
We can't just talk about and praise when things are going great. We also have to talk about the negatives.
Yep.
And that's a big negative. The Detroit Lions, Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions went into Arrowhead. I'm not going to disrespect and call it Goff Head. They went into Arrowhead and they beat the defending Super Bowl champions. Listen, the loss of Travis Kelce due to injury proved to be a lot bigger than we all thought.
Yep.
And that's not on Mahomes. That's me talking about the team as a whole. So of course we're going to talk about it. Kelce 100% would have been the difference. And listen, what that goes to show you for all the people that were that are Lions fans too. The Lions also should be disappointed themselves because they should have won this game by a larger margin. They had so many missed opportunities. But you could keep on, making excuses for your team as to why they fell short. The fact of the matter is, you guys were the defending Super Bowl champions. It's basically a lot like a champion like Canelo Alvarez defending his belt against an up and coming fighter, but nobody's really giving them credit, and he loses. This is the same exact thing. But if you won, you would have been expecting to be praised. Don't pull that crap of, oh, we didn't have Kelce. No, the fact of the matter is you fell flat on your faces tonight. And that's not on one person. That goes to what I was saying in the offseason. The Chiefs did not improve, and it proves that. Because don't tell me a 34-year-old tight end was that big of a difference for your offense that made everything fall to shambles. Don't say that. Don't say that. That's all I'm saying.
And just to add on to that, the Lions, like, people could make a different statement if, okay, they got walloped by a team like the Bengals or walloped by a team like the Bills. The Lions haven't proven anything. And I'm a huge, I'm a huge Lions supporter this year. But Amon-Ra St. Brown had 6 receptions. And who else? A rookie, Sam Laporta. You had Josh Reynolds. You have who else? Marvin Jones dropped a wide open catch. The running backs didn't do anything. David Montgomery had a touchdown, but most of the game he was held in check. Jahmyr Gibbs barely got the ball. He got the ball 6 to 9 times. And then you look at the Lions defense, respectfully, you've got Aiden Hutchinson doing great work. But besides that, their secondary, talent-wise, is meh. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So I look at this, and both teams should not be concerned. The Lions should obviously be happy, but the Chiefs should say, okay, if this is how we looked right away, you've got the Jaguars next week. I don't know if Chris Jones is going to play. Then you got the Eagles later on. Then you got the Bengals. Their schedule is brutal. So the Chiefs, yes, they're going to get Chris Jones probably back at some point. They might probably going to get Travis Kelce back soon. But still, you've got to be concerned right now if you're a Chiefs fan, because you're not going to be the juggernaut that you always have been. Like, you'll be in the playoffs. You still have Patrick Mahomes, but you even lost Eric Bieniemy.
All I'm saying is one player all of being a 34-year-old tight end shouldn't cause everything else to crumble. It shouldn't cause that. And that's, again, I want to make this crystal clear. I am not ridiculing Patrick Mahomes. All he could do is deliver the ball to these receivers. There were so many drops. So even with Travis Kelce getting back, I'm still looking at it like, wow, Kadarius Toney, wow. I'm still looking at it like Sky Moore. I still have questions. That's all I'm saying. You can't rely on a 34-year-old tight end who has had injury issues coming up the last 2 seasons now to be everything for you guys. You can't. You have to be more well-versed, because guess what? When you play the true elite teams, the teams that are championship ready, guess what? Those inefficiencies, those deficiencies will rear their ugly head. They will. It happens every single time. That's all I'm saying. You guys did a lot of chirping, in the off season and at the end, and I took it all. I'm just saying, again, there's a little bit more that we need to talk about here. Like a 34-year-old tight end, and I'm sorry to say it that way, but Travis Kelce is closer to retirement than he is, being in his prime again. I'm just saying, we need to really have that discussion, because the offensive evolution that we praise Andy Reid, even that I praise Andy Reid for so much, guess what? It didn't show up tonight.
And like I said, the last thing I'm going to say, you scored, and this is us not saying the Chiefs aren't going to make the playoffs. They might still win the division. They're going to be fine. But the point is, they scored 20 points on opening night against a Detroit Lions defense that isn't a top 10 defense. They're not. They might not even be a top 15 defense. They had Aiden Hutchinson going wild. And if I'm a Chiefs fan too, I am concerned about my tackles. That's not going away. I'm concerned about my tackles.
Bro, you chose Jawan Taylor over Orlando Brown. Brett Veach, what are we talking about? You chose Jawan Taylor over Orlando Brown. I'll leave it at that. Regardless if you thought, listen, there's not many tackles in the league. I mean, there are some tackles in the league, but there weren't any available tackles in the league that were better than Orlando Brown. Just being honest.
And something else to add, Patrick Mahomes, yes, we're going to give him somewhat of a pass, but we're also being honest, right? He missed some throws, and it goes back to the point that we talked about. You've got to build a rapport with receivers outside of your guys like a Travis Kelce. Yeah. So
it's just to a point now where I feel like Chiefs Kingdom, I get it. You guys have had a lot of success, won 2 Super Bowls, didn't experience a lot more before Pat Mahomes, but I think you forgot what it feels like to be ridiculed. Like, you guys can be ridiculed. You can be talked about as far as improvements you need to make. You're not, like, every team is susceptible to criticism, and this is the truth.
And the criticism,
And Edwin, you're speaking like an emotional fan, my man. And truly, if this is your first time on the show or watching the show, I interact with everybody, my man. I really do, and I appreciate your passion. You say, let's see the Bengals this Sunday. I will be back. I hope you're back. Whether the Bengals win, lose, look like crap, whether they blow the Browns out, whether they get blown out, I hope you're back, because I stand on everything that I'm saying. The fact of the matter is, my man, like the Chiefs are not immune towards criticism. No team is immune towards criticism. This business is what have you done for me lately? The National Football League is what have you done for me lately? The Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, but as far as we're concerned, they're 0-1 this year, especially at home in Arrowhead. So yes, they have some ground to make up. That's just my thought process.
Yeah, and just us looking at the game as a whole, you can't be confident in how they played. Yes, you can say they're going to bounce back, but when I saw their team, they just didn't look good. Their defense, too, respectfully, the rush defense did look good. Nick Bolton made some great plays, but Amon-Ra St. Brown was cooking in the first half. Their secondary didn't look good, and Jared Goff missed some throws. Jared Goff isn't an elite quarterback, so what's a Josh Allen? What's a Joe Burrow going to do? So the Chiefs have a lot to make up, and they've got to do it quick because you face the Jaguars next week. And
guess what? I'm gonna say the same thing that I said on the right bet. I said the Lions can expose them. The Lions can do. I'm gonna say it again. The Jaguars can beat them. The Jaguars can beat them. I hope Chris Jones plays. I'm sure Travis Kelce will be back. The Jaguars can beat them, man. And this seems like almost like revenge tour. You know what I mean? I think that when you look at it, I think that the Jaguars were eliminated last year by the Chiefs. Who's to say they don't want to put a target on the Chiefs' back? Can the Chiefs start 0-2? I have no idea. But the fact of the matter is, it could be trouble, man. And we appreciate y'all, man. Davis, my man, he said, "What's up, Malik and Daniel? Been following y'all for years. Who dey? Appreciate you, man. I appreciate all the support that all you guys give. And the Jaguars can beat them too. Like, Daniel, let's talk more about that.
Styles make fights, as we talk about in the UFC. And first off, this was a perfect stylistic matchup for the Lions. You got no Chris Jones on the interior of the defense, and the Lions offense runs the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
The Jaguars, they've got Calvin Ridley on one side. They've got Christian Kirk. You've got Evan Ingram. You've got Travis Etienne. You've got Tank Bigsby. The offensive line isn't great, but they're going to stretch the Chiefs defense out. And that's one thing where I don't see that being able to be fixed in 1 week. So that's the first thing I'm looking at is a young Trevor Lawrence, and you've got weapons. I'm telling you, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, I think they're going to have a field day. I think that's going to be a high-scoring matchup. And then on the other side of the ball, you got guys like Trayvon Walker. You've got, Kayvon Chase on young edges. That's going to be the key for the Jaguars, and I hope if you're a Jaguars fan, you want to see a lot out of those guys because the offensive tackles of the Chiefs are exposable. So
100%. One thing for sure, two things for certain, we can all agree football season's back. The trash talking is back. We are back.
Yep.
You guys know we are live on Wednesdays for State of the Jungle. We are, we go live from here for the right bet Tuesdays and Thursdays, the sit down with Malik Wright presented by First Star Logistics. That we do recordings for that on Monday. But you know what, man? I appreciate everybody at 1:36 a.m. showing up. That proves that there is passion. People are excited for the football season. Chiefs fans, in the end, I expect you guys to be in the playoffs. I expect you guys. I said it's so funny that this happened, right? Because I said the exact same thing. I said the Lions might win. The fact that matters, I still expect the Chiefs to be in the playoffs. I still expect the Chiefs to be tough. I just don't think they'll be the same dominant Chiefs that we're used to seeing, that we've seen them for the last couple of years. That's all I'm saying, man. That is all I'm saying. It's going to be very, very interesting. And it's hard. Listen, it's hard to win a Super Bowl. It's even harder to repeat. And, the Chiefs can only go up from here. They'll only grow from this, right? That's my thought process on it. But yeah, man, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys for tuning in.
I want to say one thing real quick. If you guys are tuning in, once again, just keep, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, because this is what we do. We go live and we actually answer your guys' questions. This is an actual conversation. Yeah. We're literally just talking ball at 1 a.m. after the game, because respectfully, with or without the camera, we'd be doing the same thing. 100%. So you guys join in on the conversation, whether you're on your laptop, whether you're on your phone. Join in on the conversation, turn on post notifications, and when we go live, same thing, comment, and we'll answer your questions. So.
Absolutely, man. So I'm gonna let you guys get some sleep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some sleep. I've had a long day. I've had multiple shows I've done, but we couldn't do this without you guys. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. It's a bunch of you guys in here, almost 100 people right now. Let's give us a like, man. Give us a like and subscribe as well, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we go live. But until next